5 words. The feds have it all. Lontrell Williams Jr., known to the world as Poo Shiesty, was one of the fastest rising stars in hip-hop, a Memphis-bred rapper who went from freestyling in the lunchroom to a reported $10 million record deal. But on January 10, 2026, just 90 days after walking out of federal prison, while still on home confinement, he allegedly put an AK-style pistol to Gucci Mane's head and forced him to sign a contract at gunpoint. And somehow it gets worse from there. To understand how this happened, you have to understand who Poo Shy-stee is and where he came from. Born November 8, 1999, in Memphis, Tennessee, Lontrell Williams Jr. grew up in music. His father, who rapped under the name Mob Boss, founded Mob Ties Records and brought his son into the studio as a young child. Music wasn't just a hobby, it was the family business. Shiesty launched the Choppa Gang crew and spent his teenage years perfecting his craft, freestyling on the block, in the lunchroom, anywhere he could. He briefly relocated to Pflugerville, Texas with his mother, but came back to Memphis focused. He finished high school online, and by 18, music was everything. By 2019, he was making noise across the South with his debut single, Hell Night. In 2020, Gucci Mane came calling. Gucci Mane, one of Atlanta's most legendary figures, founder of 1017 Records, signed Poo Shiesty to a reported $10 million deal. And it paid off fast. His single Back in Blood with Lil Durk hit number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100. His debut mixtape, Shiesty Season, debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200. In under 2 years, Poo Shiesty had gone from Memphis underground to one of the biggest names in rap. Then the bottom fell out. In October 2020, Poo Shiesty was involved in an incident in Florida, a hotel robbery and shooting connected to a drug deal gone wrong. 2 men were shot. Witnesses placed Shiesty at the scene. By 2022, the federal government had built its case. Shiesty pleaded guilty to conspiracy to possess a firearm in furtherance of violent and drug trafficking crimes. And in April 2022, he was sentenced to 63 months, 5 years and 3 months in federal prison. Just like that, one of hip-hop's brightest new stars was gone. His father, Lontrell Williams Sr., took over business operations and immediately started pushing 1017 Records to renegotiate the contract. According to federal court documents, Williams Sr. made numerous unsuccessful attempts to get better terms for his son, including trying to obtain the rights to Poo Shy-stee's master recordings. Gucci Mane wasn't budging. He would renegotiate certain things, album payouts, deal structures, but the masters, those stayed with 1017. For 3 years, Poo Shy-stee sat in federal prison while his father fought that battle and lost every single time. On October 7th, 2025, Poo Shy-stee walked out of federal prison after serving roughly 1,000 days, released early on good behavior. But he wasn't free, not exactly. As part of his sentence, Shiesty was placed on federal home confinement. He was required to live in an apartment in Frisco, Texas, a suburb of Dallas, and was supervised by case managers from Volunteers of America, a Bureau of Prisons contractor. The conditions were strict: no dangerous weapons, no contact with people who have criminal records, no alcohol, no drugs. He was required to stay at his place of residence at all times, unless given explicit permission to leave. What the federal government would later discover is that Poo Shiesty violated almost every single one of those conditions, and he had help doing it. This is where the story gets darker. Investigators discovered that Shiesty had entered into what prosecutors described as an inappropriate relationship with at least one of his Volunteers of America case supervisors. This employee was actively entering fake day passes into the system, allowing Shiesty to travel to unapproved locations while the record showed he was home. The misconduct extended all the way to January 10th, 2026, the day of the kidnapping itself. On that day, the employee entered 3 separate day passes for Shiesty and contacted him 19 times over the course of the day. While he was allegedly holding a gun to Gucci Mane's head in a Dallas recording studio, a federal employee was covering his tracks. Volunteers of America later terminated that employee for this conduct. And that wasn't all. Despite having someone on the inside, Shiesty was still formally written up on at least 4 separate occasions for violating his conditions, including providing a cold urine sample on November 8, 2025, which was documented as a refusal to test, failing to appear for scheduled check-ins, claiming he couldn't find transportation, then not showing up even after being given extensions. And his text messages, they tell the whole story. Prosecutors obtained messages showing Shiesty texting that he was, quote, high and drunk while on home confinement, discussing being tore up and passing out in the studio. At one point, he apparently got into a car accident while drinking and driving. His response in a text message, "Somebody hit me, man. The government's filing put it plainly. These are not the lapses of someone occasionally falling short. These are the messages of someone who treated the court's conditions as obstacles to be overcome." Now we get to January 10th, 2026. For months since his release, Poo Shy-stee had personally taken over the contract negotiations his father had been running. He wanted out of 1017 records. He wanted his masters. And Gucci Mane, by this point, had made clear that wasn't happening. So according to federal prosecutors, Shiesty came up with a different plan. Gucci Mane was lured to a Dallas recording studio under the guise of a business meeting to continue contract negotiations. Gucci had no reason to suspect a problem. He came with his photographer, a close friend, and 2 former police officers working as security guards. They arrived at the studio and were met by Williams Sr., Pooh's father, along with Big 30, rapper Rodney Wright Jr., Kadarius Waters, and 5 other Confederates, 9 people in total, all there, all waiting. Shortly after 3:43 p.m., the situation changed. Poo Shiesty spoke briefly on the phone, telling whoever he was talking to that he was not supposed to be out. Then he asked to speak with Gucci Mane alone in the soundproof recording room adjoining the main control room. William Sr. and Big 30 followed them in. Once the door closed, Shiesty produced an AK-style pistol. He demanded Gucci Mane release him from his recording contract, and he had the paperwork ready, a printed termination agreement dated January 9th, 2026, the day before, referencing the original 1017 deal signed on April 1st, 2020. The document declared the contract void ab initio, legally void from the beginning, and demanded Gucci sign over all rights, masters, recordings, artworks, and logos. Someone had a lawyer draft that contract. This was premeditated. While Shiesty held Gucci Mane at gunpoint in that room, the remaining co-conspirators drew firearms and began robbing everyone else in the studio. Gucci's photographer, his close friend, his security guards, all held at gunpoint. And then they took everything: Gucci Mane's wedding ring, his earrings, his watch, cash, on federal home confinement, 90 days out of prison, with a VA employee covering for him in real time. The investigation moved fast. 9 people were federally charged in connection with the kidnapping and robbery, including Poo Shiesty, Big 30, Kadarius Waters, and 6 others. The charges: kidnapping, conspiracy to commit kidnapping, Hobbs Act extortion, and conspiracy to commit the same. Federal charges in federal court for a man already on federal supervision. Poo Shiesty pleaded not guilty to all counts, but prosecutors made clear in their detention filing what they believe the evidence shows, and the evidence they have is significant. The printed contract dated the day before, VA records showing fake day passes entered on the day of the crime, text messages from his own phone, testimony from multiple victims, 19 contacts from the VA employee on the day of the kidnapping alone. 5 words: the feds have it all. Poo Shiesty's attorneys filed a motion to have him released on conditions, proposing 24/7 home confinement with GPS monitoring, restricted travel, no contact with victims, drug testing, and intensive supervision. The judge denied it. Prosecutors argued there was no set of conditions that could protect the community from Lontrell Williams Jr. because he had already proven on federal home confinement that he would violate every condition placed on him, with help from the inside. The government's filing described him as someone who treats court-ordered conditions as obstacles to be overcome, and they were right. He had a federal employee entering fake passes for him, was violating drug and alcohol conditions from the day he got out, committed an alleged kidnapping 90 days into home confinement, and was still racking up violations after the fact. Shy-stee's defense argued the exhibits don't automatically prove violations, that some locations may have been approved, that GPS interpretation could be disputed, but the contract exists, dated January 9th, with his name on it, and the name of the victim he allegedly forced to sign it. The trial was originally scheduled for July 6th, 2026, but in June, Shy-stee's defense attorneys filed for a continuance, citing the sheer volume of discovery material turned over by prosecutors. 96 gigabytes, approximately 14,000 pages of evidence. The trial was pushed to February 22nd, 2027. That means Poo Shy-stee sits in federal custody, no bond, no home confinement, no fake day passes, until at least next year, and there's one more wrinkle. His defense has suggested that at least one victim may have recanted their statement. Prosecutors say they have no evidence of any recantation, and that defense attorneys provided no proof. But if true, it could become a significant factor at trial. For now, the federal government's position is clear. The defendant orchestrated a premeditated armed kidnapping on federal home confinement, had inside help from a federal contractor employee, and committed multiple violations documented on his own phone throughout the entirety of his supervision. Let's put this in perspective. In 2022, Poo Shy-stee received 63 months for a firearms and drug trafficking conspiracy. That's over 5 years, and he served nearly 3. Federal kidnapping carries a sentence of up to life in prison. Hobbs Act extortion carries up to 20 years per count, with multiple counts, multiple co-defendants, and the government's documented evidence of premeditation and home confinement violations. Legal analysts have suggested he could be looking at decades. One commentator put it bluntly, if he was dumb enough to do this 90 days out of federal prison on federal home confinement using a lawyer-drafted contract dated the day before, then his attorney's best job now is working on a plea deal and hoping for 10 to 15 years. His father didn't want it to go like this. His lawyers are fighting. His co-defendants are in the system. Big 30 is facing the same charges, and Gucci Mane, whose wedding ring was taken, who was held at gunpoint by a man he signed and built up from nothing, is the victim in a federal kidnapping case. Poo Shy-stee went from a $10 million deal to an AK in a soundproof room. From Shy-stee's season debuting at number 3 on the Billboard 200 to the government's detention filing, stating in plain language that there are no conditions of release that can protect this community from him. He was 26 years old when this happened, and unless something changes drastically between now and February 2027, he may not see freedom again for a very long time. The feds have the contract, they have the text messages, they have the VA records, they have the testimony, they have 96 gigabytes of evidence, 5 words. The feds have it all. If you made it to the end of this video, drop a comment below. What do you think happens at trial? Does Poo Shy-stee take a plea, or does he roll the dice in front of a jury? Subscribe to Crimetown TV for more true crime coverage. New videos every week.